It's a new year, a new season, and we are underway.
Really dominating fashion here today is going to win.
2-3-4 for the final time.
Win number 1 on the season, only just barely.
He is going to win here at the Nazareth Speedway.
Wins the Emerson Electric 100K.
Gonna be Igor Barretto's gonna eke it out.
Cup Series champion is Shane Lake in the number 15.
Welcome to the NOFSRL.
The last time the Turkey Hill National Series ran on the track for an official race, it was Trey Smith taking home the championship at Darlington. Well, now a new season has begun, and 40 new drivers are ready to become a Turkey Hill National Series champion and follow in the footsteps of Trey Smith. We are here at the Homestead Miami Speedway for the AutoNation 300, the opening event of the season in Season 6 of the NOFSRL Turkey Hill National Series. Hello everybody, this is Napa Fan here coming to you from the Homestead Miami Speedway, and we had a great Mellow Yellow Smooth Fest last night. We're going to add 6 more laps to that and do it for points this time. The opening event of the season for the first time ever at the Homestead Miami Speedway for the Turkey Hill National Series. And not only is it the opening event of the season, this will determine the 8 drivers who are going to attempt the Daytona 500 on Wednesday for the NOFSRL Cup Series. Join alongside Matt Chuck for the call of tonight's event. And Matt, there's a lot at stake for this race because all these guys want an opportunity at racing in the Daytona 500, but they also know you got to get started on the points right away. It's a strict points championship all throughout all 32 races this season. How do you think these guys are going to race, knowing that there's so much at stake for this race here on this Saturday night?
No, it definitely amps the intensity up as high as it can get here in this series. Obviously, you have a lot on the line because you don't have just the championship in this series you're going for, a hot seat ride to get into the next cup race. And obviously with the first one coming up, that being the Daytona 500, that's the biggest of them all. So it makes it very important here for these drivers who do want a shot in that race to get out of the gate early, get out of the gate and, try and see if you can at least, get yourself in contention to get into the Daytona 500. So a lot on the line here, not just for the championship in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of new things here in the Turkey Hill National Series this year. Of course, opening the season off at Homestead, but we got a new car as well for 2021. This is the 2020 mod for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and let me tell you, this mod looks better than the Cup cars that we have. We got the new Ford, we got a new Toyota. It's very, very cool out here. Also got a couple Hondas out there too, because why not? Gonna be a great field this season as well. We have a lot of veterans in this series, including drivers like Trey Bartow, who retired from the Cup Series last year, but coming down here to the National Series. Elijah Gordon, 2-time Cup champion, driving this season here in the National Series. And Marty's back. Good old Marty Johnson back behind the wheel and starting in the 9th position tonight as well in that 53 machine for Body Armor Team Velocitar. Definitely excited to see what Marty can do in this race. But back to the hot seat, the top 8 finishers that are eligible to race in the NOFSRL Cup Series will go ahead and file into a Turkey Hill hot seat ride on Wednesday for Daytona 500 qualifying. The 4 drivers who are ineligible to drive in the Turkey Hill National Series are Justin Zeidel, Noah Clifton, Trey Bartow, and Josh Williamson. Those 4 drivers, owners or at least part owners in the NOFSRL Cup Series, so therefore they cannot drive in the NOFSRL Cup Series. So if any of those guys finish inside the top 8, just going to push down to the next position, and the top 8 eligible drivers will fill into a ride for the Daytona 500 qualifying on Wednesday. That will change beginning at Daytona next week for the Turkey Hill National Series, as we have groups assigned for each driver, and whoever finishes highest in that group will qualify for the next race in the NOFSRL Cup Series. But for the Daytona 500 only, the top 8 eligible drivers will qualify, or should I say attempt to qualify for the Great American Race. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it. No need to keep on talking your ear off. We're going to go ahead and see how this race goes down. On the pole position at qualifying last night, and it was won by Joey Hightower for Fisher G Racing in the number 25. Alongside him, the number 63 of Dustin Davis in his first career Napa Fam start. and he's got a legendary name behind him in the Body Armor Cup Series. Hopefully, it does not turn into that type of legendary name here tonight at Homestead. John Andrews, veteran driver, alongside another veteran driver in Julio Cesar in row number 2. Roberto Crown Jr. and Luke Rainey make up row number 3. Luke Rainey won the last ever NRLOA race here at Homestead back in 2018. That could be a good omen for him here tonight in the AutoNation 300. Scott Upton alongside his teammate Justin Seidel in run number 4. And then it's Marty Johnson alongside the number 12 of Audra Baranowskis to round out the top 10 starting positions here from the Homestead Miami Speedway. All 40 drivers rolling off the grid here for the Turkey Hill National Series season number 6 opener. Matt, who do you think is going to go to victory lane here tonight in the AutoNation 300?
Well, I'm not gonna jinx anybody. So instead, I'm gonna pick the 79 of Julio Cesar, and I believe this is his first season. I believe.
It is. First season in the Turkey Hill National Series. He has run a full season in Cup before, but that experience could pay off here tonight in the Turkey Hill National Series. It's been a great weekend so far, and we're just getting the season started. Pace Car is going to pull off Turkey Hill National Series action underway here from Homestead. Joey Hightower going to lead us off, and we're green flag racing for the 2021 season in the AutoNation 300. Well, we already got 3 wide for the race lead here. How about that to start off the season? John Andrews leads the first lap. Bonus point towards the championship for him right there. It was actually Dustin Davis who led the first lap. And they were dead even at the line between those 3 drivers. Now they're 4 wide for the race lead here on lap number 2. Roberto Crown Jr. on the inside in the 72 machine.
Crown Jr. in the 72 is going to slide Davis up the hill. You got to watch out here. You got to be careful because you got that 11 car of... You got the 11 Andrews there. And I think that was up on the high side in that 25 machine, I believe it was. Joey Hightower, he got just shuffled to the back in that Smoothie King machine. But now Crown Jr. still fighting hard on the inside, trying to stick it around Andrews. But Andrews so far holding strong on that outside as his field starts to span out.
Of course, John Andrews, an experienced veteran. Roberto Crown Jr., though, only a second ever Napa fan start here tonight, and he is showing a strong machine under that 72. And to the point, Roberto Crown Jr., 3 different leaders in the first 3 laps of this race here at Homestead. All 3 getting a bonus point towards the championship for leading a lap. An extra bonus point will be awarded to the driver who leads the most laps in every race of the NOFSRL Cup Series and Turkey Hill National Series this season. Andrews going to peek back down to the inside as they're 4 wide for 4th between Marty Johnson, RJ Bishop, Scott Upton, and Luke Rainey. And Rainey getting shuffled out of line. He's still 4 wide, almost 5 wide back behind there. Joey Hightower in the middle of all that. Here comes Stephen Colin in the 80. And Colin to the inside of Bishop and Marty Johnson. Johnson's got to run on the outside lane as Roberto Crown Jr. holds on to the race lead for now. Dustin Davis holds on to second. John Andrews files in third. And Johnson there in the 4th position. Remember, the top 8 eligible drivers minus Seidel, Williamson, and we got a wreck in the back. That's Landon Smith Jr., 51, and Priya McShane in the 77. She's got to be careful merging back on the racetrack. Ian Siegel out of line. It's a mess right now here at Homestead, but I don't know if the caution came out for the number 51, and it did. Landon Smith Jr. triggering the first caution of the night here at Homestead, and thankfully that was all that ensued right there, but my goodness. So much going on here at the opening laps of the season. That is Landon Smith Jr. who went around. I don't think he hit the wall, but it's going to give us an opportunity to give it a briefer. As I was about to say, the only drivers not eligible are Seidel, Williamson, Clifton, and Berto. So just forget about those guys, but the other 36 guys going for those top 8 positions, and this is going to be interesting because these guys are going to pit right here. But I don't think you can make it to the end of the race from here on out. I think we got about a 30-lap fuel window. I can't quite remember. Somewhere around there, they're going to have to probably make another stop after this. So those guys staying out are going to be at a bit of an advantage. But John Andrews, Marty Johnson, RJ Bishop, Noah Clifton, Looks like they're the only 4 guys up front coming down. We got Bouchard in the 7, the 12 of Baranowskis, Luke Rainey, Joshua Harrison down the pit lane. A lot of guys from the back coming down right now to top off on fuel, but what a wild way to start off the season right there. Thankfully, nobody's going to get knocked out of the race from that incident.
Yeah, that was, luckily it happened at the back. They might have even been battling for, like, some pretty... Actually...
You got Landon Smith Jr. there. He's actually going to get out ahead of a lot of guys on the pit lane right here, which is interesting. So, no contact. All they need to do is change the tires, and they're good to go. We have a couple guys still on the pit lane. Scott Upton in the 88 may have a bit of an issue right there. But I say about a third of the guys came down the pit lane. The rest of them stayed out. So watch out. John Andrews won the race off the pit lane. He was the first guy to come off with RJ Bishop, Noah Clifton, and Marty Johnson in line behind him. It was a simple spin, but we're still going to go ahead and see what happened to bring out the first caution of the season in season number 6 of the NOFSRL Turkey Hill National Series. Roberto Crown Jr. leader here in the AutoNation 300 at Homestead. And take a look here, see what brought out the caution. And we saw Luke Rainey slipping back a little bit in the 21 machine. Julio Caesar in the middle of this. Priya McShane, her first career Napa fan start here, and I don't think this is her fault either. It's the 82 of Blake Parker, I do believe. No, McShane came down on Smith Jr., and then Parker had nowhere to go, and around went the 51. Very unique situation right there, but thankfully that was it. A little concern there with McShane merging back onto the racetrack. And that 51 did actually tap the inside wall. But not enough damage to affect the 51 machine. We'll have to see what Landon Smith Jr. can do. He actually won the last race we had here in the Turkey Hill National Series last September when his brother won the championship. He went to victory lane at Darlington. Moving over to Body Armor Team Velocitar for this season. The new team in the Turkey Hill National Series, by the way. Not exactly how he wanted to start off his second straight season in this series. Let's go ahead and review it one more time, then get back to the race here. The AutoNation 300 at Homestead.
So you just watched there, the 77 Prima Shane and the 82 BWT machine. Smith Jr. just kind of gets taken out and all that. I don't know how much damage exactly he'll get, but you never know. Maybe just he felt, Landon Smith Jr., we know he can win races. Just maybe he felt like today was a good day to start his Sergio Perez last to first skills. And we'll see how it plays out for him, though.
It'll be interesting. He did come down the pit lane. I'm not sure if that's going to give him an advantage or not, but don't know if he can go last to first here at Homestead. Roberto Crown Jr. leads the field with Dustin Davis in second and Stephen Colin in third, as those 3 guys between them all came down the pit lane. They're deep in the field here for this restart. We're just early on here in the AutoNation 300. Let's see what happens when we get to the restart here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. And we are back here at the Homestead Miami Speedway, the opening race in season number 6 of the NOFSRL Turkey Hill National Series AutoNation 300 action here from Homestead. And we got ourselves an interesting race going on here because those drivers who just came down the pit lane under the caution, they may not be able to make it to the end of the race without having to come back down again, which that means they're going to put them at a bit of a disadvantage. However, they may be able to gain a lot of time on the rest of the guys ahead of them, because they may have taken tires. Didn't check on that when they were coming down the pit lane, but they're led by John Andrews. Everyone from John Andrews on down came down the pit lane under the caution. Everyone ahead of John Andrews stayed out. There's quite a few guys ahead who did, in fact, stay out. Nobody out of the race. Everyone's still in this thing. Last place is actually Scott Upton. Landon Smith Jr. currently resides in the 31st position after he spun out there on lap number 6. Roberto Crown Jr., Dustin Davis, Stephen Colin, Colin Teague in his first ever Napa fan start, and Justin Zidell, a veteran who's not going for a Daytona 500 position. He's going for a race victory. That's the top 5s. We're back to racing on lap 10 of 40 here in the AutoNation 300 at Homestead. And someone in the back blowing up, that is Christian Vargas, and that is going to be our first DNF of the night. Tough break there for the Pacific Racing driver of Vargas, who was in this series last year. Not off to a good start this season.
It's a tough way there for that Tide ride to go out early here in the race, but long season, he'll get a shot to go back at him again, but a little bit interesting this time. We saw absolute calamity break loose on the initial start of the race. These guys are a little more toned down for this restart here, but we still have a bunch of guys looking to make moves here. You got the 89 of Colin Teague. You got the, I believe that is the number 80 machine here, driven by Stephen Colon here in his first start. So then you obviously still have Dustin Davis, Bartow. You got a whole bunch of guys up here who are still contending for the win, but you're going to have to get to Roberto Crown Jr. first. And as we saw last night in the Smooth Fest and in the Miami Nights 500, that can be a little easier said than done.
Look at that move by Cologne there. Going from the top to the bottom, trying to get around Colin Teague. That number 80 looking pretty strong, and you got to keep in mind, these guys are going for those hot seats as well, so you don't want to do anything to risk losing that, because that's a pretty big opportunity. Now, Bartow here in the 54, running inside the top 5 now. Hey, great to see this guy back in action. He won the championship in this series back in 2016. He has not raced in this series since 2016, so essentially he's a defending champion in a way. We'll have to see what he can do. The only champion of this series who's running this season. He's right behind Cologne there for the 4th position. Joey Hightower, pulse hitter, moving back up through the field, now up to the 6th position. Zidell falling back a little bit, as we got Ben Grorich and Dennis Stryker battling with him in both of their first career Napa Fam starts here tonight. Great opportunities for those guys, but we're going to have 4 wide as Mitchell Collins, who's a veteran of this series, moving to the inside of those guys, and Zidell tapped the outside wall. He's going to fall back.
Zidell took a big shot there to the wall. I don't know how he's going to have to try and see how quickly they can bounce back from that there. Tough break there for the moment. Rebounds fairly okay, but he's going to lose more spots. Bartow, though, is looking very aggressive to the inside. He's got to be careful with that 80. Cologne there to the bottom. Davis is in the top. Cologne, though, is looking real dicey in that number 80 so far early in the race.
Yeah, great job here out of the number 80 machine of Stephen Cologne here in his first ever series start on Napa Fan. He's run a couple races before, but this is his first true test on the AG Racing channel. But how about Hightower? We saw him win the pole last night. He seems to have a pretty strong race car. How about these guys who came down the pit lane? A very interesting situation with those guys. They really have not advanced too much. You got Noah Clifton, Marty Johnson on this inside lane here. John Andrews fell back quite a bit in the number 11 machine, not working too well for him. As a matter of fact, he's at the end of the field in 39th right now. Vargas, the only driver out of the race. Colin Teague, you know what I just noticed? The top 2 guys are on the same team. Ryan Racing, Ryan Benjamin's team, with 2 pretty much true rookies in Napa leading this field right here with Roberto Crown Jr. and Colin Teague. But behind him, they got one of the most experienced guys on Napa Trey Bartow, hunting them down. Very unique situation up front here, as we're not quite to the halfway point of this race in the AutoNation 300.
This race just continues to churn right along here. Obviously, laps wind down. Now keep something in mind too. Not all these guys pit. So the first of the guys, I honestly don't know.
I would say the first of the guys, probably Marty Johnson at this point, number 53, who's midway through the field, currently 18th. He's in a battle with Bouchard right now for that 17th, 18th position. So we're going to have to see if it stays green, and that's a big if after what we saw at the top of the show. We will see what the field winner really is for these guys who stayed out, because we know that Roberto Crown Jr. stayed out, so did Colin Teague, Trey Bartow. All these guys running inside this top 5 stayed out under that last caution. So they're going to have an opportunity to give us an idea of what this field window is going to be. Those guys that came down under the caution came down on lap 6, going into lap 7, which is about 34 laps to go. So we're going to have to see if these guys come in before lap 34, we could have ourselves a fuel mileage race between those guys who came down the pit lane. We really don't know how it's going to shake out with the fuel window, but it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be fun to see who gets it done. As Colin Teague try to get a run on Roberto Crown Jr., come do it, and Bartow's going to be like, I'll take that position away from you. And here he comes, Trey Bartow, trying to get a little bit of revenge after what happened to him last season in the Cup Series. He joined the team that gave him probably his biggest loss of the year last year. But like I said, if you can't beat him, join him, and that's what Bartow did there. Not only that, he's part owner of the team now.
Yeah. It's obviously it's a little different, given like say some people who get beaten, like Nathan Baird. You know, we beat down Nathan Baird last year, and he decided he's like, why on earth would I carry a team by myself? I can just go join a super team, and that's what he did. Bartow obviously a little different, given the fact that he retired, moving on to the next phase. Retired from the Cup, moving on to the next phase of his career. My goodness, that is a move up the inside around the 72. finally a new leader here at Homestead, Trey Bartow to the point.
Right at the halfway point as well, so our 4th different leader here tonight. Last night in the Smooth Fest, we only had 3 different lead changes, 4 different leaders, and as a matter of fact, that's what we got so far right now, but we're only halfway through this event here at Homestead. How about Trey Bartow there, to the point, one of the most experienced drivers, if not the most experienced driver in the field. He obviously got 2-time Cup champion Elijah Gordon in the field, but he's not been up front that much tonight. How about these rookies, though? They're punting it to Bartow. Colin Teague in his first career Napa Fam start to the inside of Bartow for the race lead. Don't know if he's going to have the run. He's actually going to move up his teammate, Roberto Crown Jr. And Teague's been trying to get these runs on the race lead, but has not been able to capitalize on it. And it's actually hurt himself just a little bit. He's lost a little bit of momentum each time he's tried to go for the race lead. Joey Hightower moved to the inside here of Stephen Colon in the 80 machine. Stephen Colon right there battling with Hightower. How about Declan Wellington Turner here on the number 66, his first career Napa Fam start, in the ride that won the championship last year when Trey Smith drove this machine inside the top 10 with Dennis Stryker. How about Dan Park? Haven't talked about Dan Park at all tonight. Here he is in 8th. Mitchell Collins, Ben Grorich. That's the top 10 here on lap 23. And they're led by one of the greatest of them all, Trey Bartow, in the number 54.
Bartow there still flying along there in the middle of the track. Now it's interesting, obviously we see a lot of guys are spacing out. We're going to have to keep an eye on this 53 Marty Johnson because obviously like we were talking about, we think, and I didn't catch, because I never caught it, he had went down originally, but we think he's the first guy who has made his pit stop, which, if this race stays, well, I guess regardless if it does throw yellow, we'll see him probably cycle a lead anyway, but if this race stays green, he could very well be in the driver's seat for the shot at this race win. Obviously, we are going to have to wait and see how this plays out. My math has been, as we saw last night in the Miami Nights 500, my math is not very good lately, but, you know, we will see how this plays out for Marty Johnson. But in the meantime, his teammate Trey Bartow holding off the 2 Ryan's Racing cars. It's a battle up front. It's a Mustang 1, 2, 3, followed by a trio of Camaros, and then a lot of manufacturer battles really going strong up front here.
Declan Wellington Turner, first run here. It's at the top 10 in a little while. To the inside of Joey Hightower. Now Roberto Crown Jr., who was 3rd. Gonna look to the inside of his teammate Colin Teague for 2nd. You know, it's a little bit dangerous to battle for 2nd right behind the leader here at Homestead. We've seen in these truck races we saw last night, if that leader gets out ahead, it's going to be tough to catch him. Now you got to think, though, these guys still have to come down the pit lane and make a stop here very soon. And it's going to be very soon when these guys come down the pit lane. How about Mike Knapp here? Number 67 hasn't run on Napa Fan since this series in season number 4. Well, here he is, currently running in the 12th position. Great to see him have a good run there for Smith Motorsports. That's Trey Smith's team, by the way. So that's the team owned by the past defending champion. Keep that in mind. They may be threats to win this season in the Turkey Hill National Series. Crown Jr. has gotten around Teague. Colin in the 80 machine, looking to the inside. Declan Wellington Turner with a run there, 3 wide for the 3rd position.
Oh, and up top, Teague in the 89, and then the 80 of Cologne I think they almost got into it with each other there. It was very, very tight there. Wellington Turner there on the bottom, looking to take advantage of both of those guys getting into it. That allowed the big thing there with Cologne and Teague getting into it with one another. That allowed Roberto Crown Jr. to really break away from the rest of that pack there and close up to the backbone for Trey Bartow. Still doesn't have enough, not quite close enough there to make the pass there yet. He's getting closer though, but now we got Teague fighting back on the inside of Wellington Turner. This is going to get very, very close here towards the end of this race. These guys are starting to battle each other a little more aggressively for position, but these guys also, as we were saying, gotta remember those pit stops could still be coming up here soon. We're not there yet. But it is getting closer as Crown Jr. wants that, put that 72 Mustang back out here to the point at Homestead.
He's got a run on Bartow. Yeah, we're closing in on pit stops. If I'm not mistaken, these guys hitting that outside lane. I think we're going to start seeing some guys come down this time by. Maybe, maybe not. Lots of times we see those guys go up in the outside. They're preparing for these guys to come down the pit lane. Meanwhile, for the race lead, Roberto Crown Jr. going to take it away from Bartow as a couple guys in the back. Justin Zeidel is down the pit lane. They're side by side for the race lead as pit stops are about to begin right around lap 30. I just don't know if those guys who came down are going to have enough. And if that's the case, the guys we're seeing on screen right now are going to be the ones battling for the race victory. Here we go. Cycle going to begin right here. We got a few guys. How about Wellington Turner with a massive cut down to the inside? That was a dangerous move, but he avoided major contact. Dan Park, Joey Hightower, Dennis Stryker down. Ashland Boyd in the 65 as well. We're going to have to see if those guys gain any advantage on the guys who are still out there. They got to avoid wrecking. If they wreck, that's going to mess with everything here. Back in the field, Will Parrish, Luke Rainey, Elijah Gordon, Isaac Nichols, Braden Perez. Last time we were here, Perez won at a wreck in the turn number 3. That was Nichols. Elijah Gordon is caught up as well, and Luke Rainey in the 21. And guess who just inherited the race lead? My goodness. Well, that wasn't even a cause because of the pit stops. They actually just got together there in the turn number 3, our second caution of the night. Roberto Crown Jr. coming down, and all these guys who were the race leaders, including Trey Bartow, coming down for their pit stops. Now Luke Rainey missed the pit stops, missed the pit stall, I should say. Missed the pit road, that's what it's called, and he is destroyed in the number 21 machine. I don't think this is going to end up putting a lot of guys at a disadvantage. We're going to have to see how this whole thing cycles through, but what a way to begin the season. A massive accident there in turn number 3.
Yeah, that may or may not be what Marty Johnson wanted to see. I know obviously that basically secures that he's going to make it on fuel, but he's going to have to, it looked like he was going to have a shot to maybe cruise away with the win. It didn't look like that 7-car Logan Williams was particularly close.
That's
to
actually Daniel Bouchard in Logan Williams' machine right there.
Daniel Bouchard, my bad. But now he's going to have to fight all these drivers behind him, so you know, fuel-wise it'll be good, but it's not like it's just got easier for him here at the end of this race.
Yeah, so I see Bartow and all these guys who were battling are still on the lead lap. We do have a couple of guys, I think, who initially came down who are stuck a lap down. And they include Dan Park in the number 32. And I believe he's the only one really inside the top 10 there, who is Dennis Stryker, I think, is also a lap down in the 10 machine. And the 82 of Blake Parker, also a lap down. It gives BB Ruiz and John Andrews the top 10. Now, the big question is, because those guys, all those guys who are still out there, they came down under the first caution, lap 6. These guys began coming down lap 30. Those guys also had a caution during that run. So lap 30, lap 31. I do not see these guys making it, but they're going to go for it. It's the first race of the season. We have 32 races in the season. So if there's any time to lose points, maybe now is the time. We're going to have to see how that all goes down. But Marty Johnson leads the field here at Homestead, lap 34 of 40. But first, let's go ahead and see what happened to bring out the second caution of the night here in the AutoNation 300 at Homestead in the Turkey Hill National Series. This is an interesting one right here, and it's going to change the entire complexion of this race. I actually think it's Isaac Nichols. Nichols shoots up for some reason. Either that or he gets into Gordon. And look at that. Those are 3 of the most experienced drivers in the series. Isaac Nichols, Elijah Gordon, Luke Rainey all have at least one season under their belt in Cup. For Elijah Gordon, a 2-time Cup champion. And realistically, that was more so an issue between Gordon and Nichols than anybody else. Nichols getting a pretty bad lick there. He's going to be out of the race. Gordon got a second shot there from Ben Crouch in the 44. And Crouch comes down. He avoids Scott Upton, thankfully, but that was not an OP move right there. Let's just put it that way. Luke Rainey not going to be happy about that one. He was an innocent victim, and Isaac Nichols just got in there a little too hot, got up in Elijah Gordon. And unfortunately, that's going to end Nichols' night here at the Homestead Miami Speedway.
So you watched the 2 Honda cars of Gordon, and oh my goodness, just such a massive hit there. Definitely an alley-oop there, slam dunk by the Honda drivers, taking out Luke Rainey and Isaac Nichols. I think actually, that's going to take both of those Honda drivers out of contention.
Well,
here.
Will Parrish didn't even get caught up in that. He just.
That's true. Will Parrish
will be fine. I don't even really think that was much of Parrish's fault. Like I said, I feel like that was more Nichols coming up there, so he got the worst of it. He was the cause of the accident. You see these guys, Bartow and everyone who was leading, you know, we had that one set come down. They're going to get caught a lap down. The guys who came a lap before Bartow and these guys, but these guys came down at the perfect time. They're going to remain on the lead lap, and there's a good chance that those guys ahead of them may run out of fuel. We're just going to have to see how it all goes down. Marty Johnson, the race leader, will he have enough gas to make it, or will they all run out of fuel? And will Trey Bartow go to victory lane here at Homestead? We're just going to have to find out. Let's get to the restart. Only a couple laps left here in the AutoNation 300 at Homestead. We are back here at the Homestead Miami Speedway, and what a race this has shaped up to be, because these top 10 drivers may not be able to make it to the end. They stayed out. Well, we're just going to have to see. They came down lap 6. They had a few caution laps then. They had this caution as well to save fuel. However, those guys who just made their pit stop, they're led by Trey Bartow, Roberto Crown Jr., Colin Teague, Stephen Colon, and Mitchell Collins. Those guys may be an advantage. We have a few guys a lap down, specifically kind of in this section of the pack. Blake Parker there, a lap down. Ashland Boyd, Renan Esip, Julio Cesar 2 laps down, and so is Justin Zeidel lap down, as they came down just a lap too early, unfortunately, when that caution came out. And, of course, Isaac Nichols out of the race. The only driver I do believe that got knocked out from that accident is Elijah Gordon, still out there in the 35, but that was not a good moment for those guys. Luke Rainey as well, also out of the race in the 21. Well, will Marty do it? We're just going to have to see. Marty Johnson, Daniel Bouchard, Audra Baranowskis, Noah Clifton, and Josh Williamson. The top 5, they all came down on lap 6. Will they have enough to make it to the end of the race here at Homestead with 5 laps to go?
Well, we saw last night Eli Bright had a hold pat at the front of the field until the caution came out, and then we saw Joe Rutkowski absolutely have to hold off Angel Olvera to the end of the race. But this is going to be, if Marty Johnson can hold off for the next 5 laps and somehow get this, which I don't think is going to happen. My goodness, Bouchard drove it in there. This is going to be one hell of a block job. He's going to have to pull in that 53 car to keep all those cars behind him here, especially if those guys in the back on new tires can clear that cluster of cars behind and start moving up.
Yeah, you got Trey Bartow in the middle of all this here, trying to lead those guys around. He's going to get around a couple guys who were on the lead lap. And you got to think, too, you have Dan Park here, who is a lap down, but came down just now and has fresh tires. So this is going to get interesting for him. We got a couple guys way up. Baranowskis, not enough fuel for Baranowskis. 3 laps to go, and we do have guys coming down the pit lane. And it is a mess back here on the wreck. Colin Teague and Declan Wellington Turner. That's the 3rd caution of the night. Marty's got to hold on to the fuel here. That's all he's got to do. He's got to make it to the end. Will it be enough? It's not going to be a battle to the line. But will it be enough fuel in the tank to make it on 2 caution laps? Marty Johnson. He's going to stay out here, win the race back, and he's got 2 laps for the W here at Homestead.
Oh my goodness.
Is Marty actually going to do this?
This is going to be... This will be the most intense 2 caution laps in the history of this series, arguably.
Yeah, here's the deal. If he does not come down this next time, he's good to go.
Well,
we saw Baranowskis come down the pit lane, and she may have been one of the only drivers who stayed out to come down. We got a couple guys in the back there. That's Clifton and Williamson. Joshua Harrison can't make it, and neither can BB Ruiz, but Marty's going to go for it here. What a wacky way to begin the season here in the Turkey Hill National Series. I promise you the rest of the season's not going to be like this. Bartow is going to finish top 10. That's going to be good for the championship. And you got to remember, these guys, this is a points-paying race. These guys are going for points here. And what a way to begin it off. White flag in the air, under caution for Marty Johnson. We're going to stick right with you and make sure this 53 can make it to the end here at Homestead. And if Marty Johnson wins this race, guess what ride he's going in for the Daytona 500 qualifying session on Wednesday?
I probably own that car. So
yes, you do. Daniel Bouchard looking to hold on and have a shot at this Daytona 500 as well. Bartow is 3rd. You know, only 2 guys able to stretch it here from those guys who came down. And that is Marty Johnson and Daniel Bouchard. Clifton and Williamson, a couple guys who came down there. Neither of them were eligible for the Daytona 500 anyway, but they're going to lose some points here in the first race of the season. Roberto Crown Jr. in a position. Ben Grorich in a position. And I believe Stephen Colon there in the 80. Mitchell Collins. And then maybe Micah Knapp in the 67. Guys who are going to be attempting that Daytona 500. It went all over the place all night long. And like I said, I promise you that the rest of the season isn't going to be quite like this. What a way to begin the season. It looks like he's going to have enough fuel to make it. How about this? Our good friend, the founder of the NOFSRL, going to open up the NOFSRL season in terms of points-paying races at least, with a race victory. Marty Johnson wins the AutoNation 300 at Homestead, and he's going to attempt the Daytona 500 on Wednesday in the NOFSRL Cup Series. How about that for good old Marty here at the Homestead Miami Speedway?
And a double. Is there owner's points?
There is, yeah. Owner's points are done just like they are in the NOFSRL Cup Series, and you got a pretty good boost right there with Marty and Trey, and even Landon Smith Jr. finishing 20th. You guys will probably be leading in the owners once we're said and done with this one here tonight.
Come out swinging in the winning, but yeah, first points paying race in a Ford, and we go 1-3. So I'm not really sure what to make of that, given the fact that we've been absolutely abysmal in my own series so far this year. But yeah, it's add another win to the column. Derek Hamill, if you're gonna go to Honda, that's lovely. We'll just
hey, this is only your 10th career owners win, all right?
Hey, we'll
still got 17 more to go to catch up to Derek. Hey, let's go ahead and see what happened to bring out that final caution of the night that gave Marty Johnson the race victory here in the AutoNation 300 at Homestead. John Andrews, we have guys coming out of the pit lane, particularly Baranowskis and Bishop, who stayed out, could not make it to the end. And just think, if this race stayed green, I don't think Marty Johnson would have made it. But John Andrews in the outside wall trying to avoid those guys. Everyone slid up to avoid the guys coming down the pit lane. That's one thing about this track here at Homestead. A little bit difficult to come down that pit lane. Colin Teague, Declan Wellington Turner, both in their first career starts. Both are running top 10 before all that craziness happened. And they're both into the inside wall. It's amazing just how quick it can go from very good to very bad for these drivers here in the Turkey Hill National Series. And tough break for those guys in their first career Napa Fam starts. But hey, 31 races left. I'm sure they'll get the hot seat a few times throughout the year as well. Just unfortunately for those guys, it won't be in the Daytona 500.
So you just watch there, that 11 car, Colin Teague is just going to completely plow him over, and then in the meantime, he'll pinball over, take out Declan Turner. That's it's going to end there. Well, let me phrase that. Those guys weren't going to get a shot in the Daytona 500 regardless from that far back in the field, but that caution, if we're realistic here, that caution did hand Marty the win, because I don't think he makes it to the end of the race. Either A, with Bouchard chasing him down, but more importantly, the fuel. I don't think he would have made it on the fuel there, so definitely, needless to say the least, a extremely well-timed caution here, and he comes out the beneficiary of that, and we'll be going to victory lane here tonight.
Body armor victory lane at that, in the body armor car, or one of the body armor cars, I should say. But how about that?
Rigged.
It's not. Hey, I'm not Marty. I didn't put myself in my own series and won my own race, all right? Marty can win in my series because I'm not Marty.
That is true.
We're pretty well aware of that. But Marty Johnson did get the win here tonight at the Homestead Miami Speedway with Daniel Bouchard, Trey Barta, Roberto Crown Jr., and Ben Grorich, the top 5. These are the 8 drivers who will be attempting the Daytona 500. Marty Johnson, Daniel Bouchard, Roberto Crown Jr., Ben Grorich, Stephen Colon, Mitchell Collins, Micah Knapp, and Aiden McCrow with the last position. We barely even talked about him all night long, but those 8 drivers will be attempting the Daytona 500 in the Turkey Hill National Series, in the NOFSRL Cup Series. We run the Daytona 500 in the Cup Series. Got a little ahead of myself there, but those 8 drivers, so 1 through 9, with the exception of Trey Barto, since Barto is ineligible, those 8 drivers will be attempting on Wednesday night. We will assign the rides in the future. Check in the Discord to see which rides they'll be running. And we do know Marty Johnson will be in the 52 for Velocity Racing for that Daytona 500 qualifying session on Wednesday night. But either way, bit of a mess back in there, especially with that run wreck. That run wreck between Nichols, Gordon, and Rainey, literally probably 3 of the best drivers in this series getting caught up in that wreck. That really completely changed the whole outcome of this race, and if it weren't for that, I don't think we'd be seeing Marty Johnson in victory lane. The good thing, though, for the most part, Bartow, Crown Jr., Grorich, those guys who were up front before that all happened, still got good runs. They're going to get good points here, and we're just starting off the Season 2, 32 races. It's a long ways to go before we crown a champion. Marty Johnson's your points leader here in the Turkey Hill National Series. We'll see what they could do when they head into Daytona next week for the Fresh from Florida 330 laps around the High Banks Saturday at noon Eastern Time. So looking forward to that one. But hey, final thoughts on this one, man. Marty, the race winner here at Homestead.
It was definitely, I know the truck race, the way the truck race ended a couple weeks ago to hand Joe Rutt the championship was pretty wild here, but no, it was that was definitely an interesting overall race, an interesting weekend. You know, 3 first-time winners in the respective series, and yeah, we come out on top. At least we got a dub. We got a dub. We get to go celebrate in our own sponsored victory lane. Be all good, and then we'll go to Daytona and wreck our cars. So everything will be perfectly balanced, but quite an interesting race here overall, though. Definitely one of the more interesting Homestead races I've seen.
No doubt about it. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for watching here tonight from the Homestead Miami Speedway, and we will see you guys next week in the Turkey Hill National Series at Daytona, Saturday, noon Eastern Time. Next event here on Napa Fan, Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Daytona 500 single car qualifying, and Marty Johnson and the top 9 finishers outside of Trey Barks will be part of that event, and top 2 fastest drivers in that session will lock their spots onto the 500, and then Thursday night it's the Mello Yellow Duel to determine the starting lineup for the Great American Race, which will be run Sunday, February 14th at noon Eastern Time. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Congratulations to Marty Johnson for winning here at Homestead, and on behalf of Matt Tuck, we'll see you guys next week from Daytona International Speedway to continue on Mellow Yellow Speed Weeks here on AG Racing. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I will see you guys later.